The Galactic Survival Academy's promotional materials had promised an enriching experience in cross-species cooperation and wilderness adaptation. What they had not promised was being stuck on a Class M death world with a human who thought the whole situation was hilarious. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let me back up. My name is Zixthar, and I'm a Velcaran, which means I have 6 eyes, chromatophore skin that changes color with my emotions. According to YouTube analytics, 99.3% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, you'll help support the channel and never miss fresh content, and absolutely zero tolerance for what humans call roughing it. I'd enrolled in the academy because my brood mother insisted that a degree in xenological studies would look impressive on my resume. What I hadn't anticipated was the mandatory survival course. And I really hadn't anticipated being grouped with the galaxy's most terrifying species for said course. The human's name was Marcus Chen, and he had shown up to orientation wearing something called a Hawaiian shirt, covered in tiny orange fruits and green leaves. He was grinning. Humans grin a lot, which is disturbing because they're showing you their bone-crushing omnivore teeth. But apparently, it means they're happy. Marcus seemed happy about everything, which should have been my first warning sign. Our group consisted of 5 students. Myself, Marcus, a Thorian named Kresh, who looked like a 2-meter-tall praying mantis made of living crystal, a Fluffian called Pebble, who resembled a floating cloud of purple cotton candy with eyes, and a Zentari named Rax, whose species had evolved from aquatic predators and still had the gills and attitude to prove it. The assignment was simple. Survive for 10 planetary rotations on Kepler 442b, a barely terraformed world with minimal fauna, edible vegetation, and a controlled environment. We'd been given standard survival packs containing nutrition cubes, water purification tablets, a plasma fire starter, a basic shelter dome, and emergency beacons in case things went catastrophically wrong. This will be easy. Kresh had chittered confidently on day 1, his crystalline mandibles clicking together. We have all necessary technology. Survival is merely a matter of resource management and logical planning. Marcus had laughed at that, an actual full-body laugh that made his shoulders shake. "Oh, buddy," he'd said, wiping at his eyes, "you just jinxed us so hard." None of us knew what jinxed meant. We were about to find out. Day 3 was when everything went sideways. We'd established a decent camp in a clearing near a freshwater stream, set up our shelter dome, and were rationing our nutrition cubes with mathematical precision. Kresh had created a schedule. Pebble had organized our supplies. Rax had scouted the perimeter. I had documented everything in my log. We were model students. Marcus had spent most of his time wandering around collecting rocks, sticks, and plants, which seemed pointless but harmless enough. Humans are curious, we'd all learned in Xenobiology 101. They like to poke at things and see what happens. It's one of their most endearing and terrifying qualities. Then came the incident. It started when Pebble, floating near the plasma fire starter during evening meal prep, accidentally bumped into Rax, who was reaching for the water purification kit. The collision sent the fire starter tumbling directly into the stream. We all watched in horror as it sank, sparked once, and died with a pathetic little fizzing sound. "Oh no," Pebble whispered, their cottony body turning from purple to gray with distress. "Oh no, oh no, oh no." "Retrieve it immediately," Kresh commanded, but Rax was already diving into the stream. He emerged moments later, holding the fire starter, water dripping from his gill slits. We all gathered around as he tried to activate it. Nothing. The device was completely dead. "This is fine," I said, my chromatophores flickering through 7 different colors of panic. "This is totally fine. We have nutrition cubes. We don't need fire." "The temperature drops to near freezing at night," Kresh pointed out helpfully. "Without thermal regulation, we will need to huddle in the shelter dome. It will be uncomfortable, but survivable." "What about the water purification?" Rax asked. "That runs on the same power cell as the fire starter." Silence. Heavy, horrifying silence. "We have 10 tablets left," I said slowly, checking our supply pack. "That's 1 per day for the remaining rotation. We need 2 per day minimum for proper hydration on this world." "So we're going to die," Pebble moaned. "We're going to die of thirst on a planet with fresh water everywhere. My brood sisters will never let me live this down. Except I won't be alive to hear them because I'll be dead." "We should activate the emergency beacon," Rax suggested. "And fail the course?" Kresh's mandibles clacked in distress. "This represents 40% of our final grade." That's when Marcus spoke up. He'd been sitting on a log, whittling a stick with a knife from his personal pack, watching our meltdown with apparent amusement. "Or," he said casually, "we could just make fire." We all turned to stare at him. "Make fire," I repeated slowly. "Make fire? Yeah, it's not that hard." "Marcus," Kresh said with elaborate patience, "fire is a rapid oxidation process requiring an ignition source, fuel, and oxygen. Without the plasma starter, we have no ignition source." Marcus grinned that terrifying tooth-showing grin. "Buddy, my species has been making fire since before we invented the wheel. I think I can handle it." He stood up, stretched in that casual way humans do when they're about to do something that will either impress you or give you nightmares, and walked over to his pile of collected items. "Gather around, class," he said cheerfully. "Today, you're going to learn why humans became the dominant species on Earth. And spoiler alert, it's because we're really, really good at making things burn." From his collection, Marcus retrieved 2 stones, not special stones, just rocks, gray, boring, ordinary rocks that looked like every other rock on this forsaken planet. "This," he said, holding up one, "is flint. And this," holding up the other, "is steel. Well, actually, it's an iron-rich rock that'll work as steel for our purposes. When you strike them together at the right angle, you get sparks. Hot sparks, hot enough to ignite tinder." "Tinder?" Pebble asked weakly. "Dry, fluffy stuff that catches fire easily." Marcus pointed to a pile of dried grass, shredded bark, and what looked like plant fiber he'd been preparing. "You start with tinder, then add kindling, then fuel logs. It's like building a fire in layers. Fire 101, baby." I have to admit, I was skeptical. We were all skeptical. This was primitive technology, the kind of thing pre-space flight civilizations used before they discovered chemistry and physics. The idea that it would actually work seemed laughable. Marcus knelt down, arranged his tinder in a small nest, and positioned the rocks in his hands. Then he struck them together. Crack! A shower of bright orange sparks cascaded onto the tinder. Crack, crack, crack. More sparks. The tinder started smoking. Marcus leaned down and blew on it gently, and suddenly, impossibly, there was a tiny flame. He carefully added more tinder, then small twigs, then larger sticks, building the fire up piece by piece until we had an actual, honest-to-void campfire burning in front of us. "Holy ancient ancestors," I breathed, my chromatophores cycling through colors so fast I probably looked like a disco ball. "You just made fire. With rocks? With rocks?" "Well, yeah," Marcus said, looking pleased with himself. Humans have been doing this for like 100,000 years. It's not rocket science. Although, he added thoughtfully, we also invented rocket science. So maybe we're just overachievers. Kresh was making a sound I'd never heard a Thorian make before. A sort of high-pitched, crystalline whine that might have been their version of a stunned scream. This is impossible. This violates several principles of technological progression. No, it doesn't, Marcus said cheerfully. It's just chemistry and physics at a really basic level. Heat plus oxygen plus fuel equals fire. Tale as old as time. Rax was staring at the fire like it might attack him. How did your species survive long enough to discover this? Earth is a death world. Everything there wants to kill you. Oh, because Earth is a death world, Marcus corrected. When everything is trying to kill you, you get creative. Fire kept predators away, cooked food so we didn't get sick, provided warmth, light, and a way to harden tools. Fire was basically the MVP of human evolution. MVP? I asked. Most valuable player. It's a sports thing. Never mind. Marcus stood up and brushed off his hands. Point is, we're not going to die. We have fire now, which means we can boil water, stay warm, and cook food. Speaking of which, he reached into his pack and pulled out a small wrapped package. When he opened it, the smell hit us immediately. A rich, savory, complex aroma that made my olfactory sensors go into overdrive. What is that? Pebble asked, floating closer. Jerky, Marcus said. Dried meat. I brought some from home. And before you ask, yes, I checked with the instructors. And yes, it's allowed to bring personal food items as long as they don't require special storage. He held up a strip of dark brown, fibrous material. This is beef jerky. Cow meat that's been dried, seasoned, and preserved. You can keep it for months without refrigeration. Another human innovation. None of us had ever seen a human eat meat before. Sure, we knew they were omnivores, but knowing it intellectually and seeing it were two different things. Marcus took a bite, chewing with apparent satisfaction. Mesquite flavored, chef's kiss. You eat flesh, Kresh said slowly. The muscle tissue of other organisms. Well, yeah. Humans are apex predators. Our eyes face forward for tracking prey. We have teeth designed for tearing meat. Our digestive systems can break down pretty much anything organic. We're scary efficient at converting other organisms into energy. Marcus grinned. But don't worry, I only eat non-sapient animals. I'm not a monster. The way he said, I'm not a monster, while chewing on the flesh of another creature was, frankly, the most terrifying thing I'd experienced in my entire educational career. Anyway, Marcus continued, nutrition cubes are fine, but they're boring. This planet has edible plants and probably some small animals. With fire, we can actually cook real food. Who wants to learn how to roast vegetables? Over the next several rotations, Marcus transformed our survival situation from desperate scrambling to surprisingly comfortable camping trip. And he did it all with what he called Stone Age technology. He showed us how to boil water by heating rocks in the fire and dropping them into our water containers. Doesn't matter if you don't have a metal pot, he explained. Hot rocks work just fine. Humans did this for thousands of years. He taught us how to identify edible plants, explaining that humans had figured out through trial and error, and yes, a lot of deaths, which plants were safe to eat. My ancestors were basically the galaxy's first guinea pigs, he said cheerfully. They ate everything and took notes about what killed them. How did they take notes if they were dead? Pebble asked. That's what the other tribe members were for. It was a team effort. He crafted tools from rocks and sticks, a digging implement for roots, a cutting blade for processing plants, a spear for just in case we need to defend ourselves from anything aggressive, which we probably won't. But better safe than sorry. The spear made Rax visibly nervous. You just made a weapon from a stick and a rock. Yep. Humans have been making pointy sticks for at least 400,000 years. We're very good at it. Marcus tested the spear's balance, then nodded in satisfaction. This is actually a really crappy spear by human standards, but it'll do in a pinch. A crappy weapon you made in 20 minutes, I pointed out. Exactly. Imagine what I could do with a whole afternoon. But the real revelation came on day 7, when Marcus decided we needed better food than boiled vegetables and nutrition cubes. He'd been scouting the area and found evidence of small, rabbit-like creatures living in burrows near the forest edge. After observing their patterns, he set up several simple snares using cord from his pack and flexible branches. The next morning, one of the snares had worked. "Breakfast time," Marcus announced, holding up the deceased creature. Pebble immediately turned pale gray and floated away. "I cannot watch this. I cannot." "It's just food," Marcus said, genuinely confused by the reaction. "I mean, it's fresh food, which is way better than processed nutrition cubes." "You killed it," Kresh chittered. "Well, yeah, that's how you get meat. The animal dies, then you process it, cook it, and eat it. Circle of life." "That's barbaric," Rax said, but he didn't sound entirely convinced. His predator ancestry was probably pinging interest despite his civilized upbringing. Marcus shrugged. "It's survival. And honestly, it's more respectful than factory farming, which is what we do on Earth for most of our meat. This animal lived free, died quickly, and now it's going to nourish us. That's about as ethical as food gets." He proceeded to demonstrate field dressing, which I will not describe in detail because I like my readers to keep their last meal down. Let's just say humans have a very practical, efficient, and deeply disturbing approach to processing animal carcasses. Then came the cooking. Marcus built up the fire, rigged a spit from green branches that wouldn't burn, and proceeded to roast the meat over the open flames. As it cooked, the smell intensified. A rich, complex, protein-heavy aroma that activated every hunger response in my biology. "The Maillard reaction," Marcus explained as he turned the spit. "When you apply heat to proteins and sugars, you get this gorgeous browning and flavor development. Humans figured out that cooked meat tastes better and is safer to eat than raw meat. It's easier to digest too, which meant our ancestors could extract more calories from the same amount of food. More calories meant bigger brains. Bigger brains meant better tools. Better tools meant better hunting. It's a positive feedback loop that basically turbocharged human evolution." "You're saying cooking made you smarter," I said. "Among other things, yeah. Fire and cooking were huge factors in human development. We literally evolved to be better at using fire. Our guts got smaller, our brains got bigger, and we became these weird apes who play with combustion for fun and profit." When the meat was done, Marcus cut portions for everyone. "Try it. I promise it won't kill you." "Probably." "Probably," Pebble squeaked. "I mean, you guys are all certified xenobiologists. You know your own dietary restrictions. This is just protein, fat, and some minerals. If you can eat our nutrition cubes, you can probably eat this." Rax went first, his predator instincts overriding his squeamishness. He took a small bite, chewed carefully, and his eyes, all 3 of them, went wide. This is incredible," he admitted. "The texture, the flavor complexity, Wait, what did you do to this?" Salt, pepper, and some wild herbs I found that smelled like rosemary, Marcus said. Seasoning, another human innovation. We don't just eat food, we make it delicious. One by one, we all tried it. Even Pebble, after much coaxing, absorbed a tiny piece. The verdict was unanimous. It was the best thing any of us had eaten in our entire lives. How is this possible? Kresh demanded, mandibles working furiously as he consumed his portion. This is primitive preparation, minimal ingredients, the most basic cooking method possible. It should not taste this good. But it does, Marcus said smugly. Because humans have spent 100,000 years perfecting the art of making things delicious. We are really good at food. Like, concerningly good. We've conquered our planet, reached for the stars, and invented faster-than-light travel. But we still spend enormous amounts of time and energy figuring out new ways to make food taste better. We have entire careers dedicated to it. We write books about it. We make television shows where people compete to cook the best food. We are obsessed. That's actually terrifying, I said. You're a species of predators who weaponized cuisine. Never thought about it that way, but yeah, sure. We weaponized cuisine. We also weaponized curiosity, opposable thumbs, and persistence hunting. Humans are basically walking Swiss Army knives of evolutionary advantages. The rest of the survival course passed in what I can only describe as shocking comfort, given our circumstances. Marcus continued to provide food, fire, and entertainment in the form of what he called campfire stories, which ranged from historical accounts of human exploration to absolutely bonkers fiction about dragons and wizards. Wait, Rax interrupted during one story. You're telling me humans imagine creatures that fly, breathe fire, and hoard wealth, and you think they're cool? Dragons are awesome, Marcus said definitively. They're like the ultimate predator fantasy. Huge, powerful, intelligent, and they have a breath weapon. What's not to love? They would kill and eat you. Yeah, but they'd look amazing doing it. That's the dream. On the final day, when the Academy shuttle arrived to collect us, our instructor, a Vralith named Professor Kortnax, looked confused by our campsite. "Where is your shelter dome?" she asked, her tentacles writhing in concern. "Collapsed on day 4. Marcus said cheerfully. "Turned out we didn't need it." "Your fire starter?" "Broke on day 3, also didn't need it." Professor Kortnax's primary eye swiveled to examine our setup. The robust campfire, the drying racks for food, the improved shelter Marcus had built from branches and woven grass, the clay pots he'd fired for water storage. What did you? She paused, collecting herself. "Student Chen, did you teach your team primitive survival techniques?" "Yes, ma'am." They picked it up pretty quick, too. Turns out the fundamentals of firecraft and wilderness survival are universal. Marcus kicked dirt over the fire, extinguishing it properly. "Always leave your campsite better than you found it. That's the human way." On the shuttle ride back to the Academy, Pebble floated next to me, still processing the experience. "We almost failed," they said softly. "We had all the technology, all the knowledge, all the proper equipment. And we almost failed because we relied on it too much." "But we didn't fail," I pointed out. "Because we had Marcus." "Because we had a human," Pebble corrected. "A human who knows how to make fire from rocks and tools from sticks and food from..." Okay, I'm still not comfortable with the meat thing, but I understand it better now. Kresh leaned over, his crystalline body chiming softly. "I have been researching human history during the flight. Did you know that humans went from making the first controlled fire to splitting the atom in approximately 100,000 years? That seems fast, Rax said. It's terrifyingly fast, Kresh corrected. Most species take 3 to 5 times that long, and they did it all starting from the ability to make fire from rocks. We all turned to look at Marcus, who was asleep in his seat, head tilted back, mouth slightly open, looking utterly non-threatening and completely ordinary. Humans, I said slowly, are absolutely terrifying, aren't they? Yes, Kresh agreed. Definitely, Rax confirmed. The scariest, Pebble added. But also, I continued, kind of amazing. That too, Kresh admitted. Terrifying and amazing. The two qualities are not mutually exclusive where humans are concerned. Professor Courtnax had been listening to our conversation, her tentacles curled in what might have been amusement. Welcome to Xenological Studies, she said, where you learn that the most dangerous species in the galaxy are the ones who looked at a hostile universe and said, "Bet I can make this work with some rocks and sticks." Humans didn't conquer their death world with superior strength or natural weapons. They did it with creativity, stubbornness, and an absolutely unhinged willingness to experiment. They tried eating everything, burning everything, and building everything, and they took notes the entire time. Why did you put a human in our group? I asked. Was this a lesson? Every year, I place one human in a group where the technology fails, Professor Courtnax admitted. It's not officially part of the curriculum, but it should be. Because the most important lesson you can learn about survival isn't how to use advanced technology. It's what to do when that technology fails. And no species in the galaxy is better at adapting to catastrophic failure than humans. Marcus woke up just as we were docking at the Academy station. He yawned, stretched, and grinned at us. So, he said cheerfully, same time next semester. I hear advanced survival is on a water world. I can teach you guys how to make boats and fishing equipment. It'll be fun. The look of abject horror on everyone's faces made him laugh that full-body laugh again. I'm kidding, mostly. But seriously, you guys did great. You learned fast, adapted well, and nobody died. That's a solid success in my book. Marcus, I said carefully, can I ask you something? Sure. Were you ever actually worried about the situation, about surviving? Marcus considered the question seriously. Honestly, no. I've been camping since I was 6 years old. My dad made me learn all this stuff before he'd let me play video games. At the time, I thought he was being unreasonable, but now... He shrugged. Now I get it. Humans don't do well when we're completely dependent on technology. We need to know we can survive if everything else fails. It's like a security blanket made of practical skills and primitive crafts. Your entire species has survival anxiety, Kresh observed. Oh, absolutely. You should see the prepper community on Earth. Folks who spend their whole lives preparing for apocalypse scenarios. Most humans think they're extreme, but really they're just expressing the same basic instinct we all have. The need to know we can handle whatever the universe throws at us. And can you? Rax asked. Handle whatever the universe throws at you? Marcus's grin took on a slightly feral edge. We made fire from rocks on a planet 60 light-years from Earth. We built tools, found food, and thrived in an environment we'd never encountered before. So yeah, I'd say we can handle quite a lot. As we disembarked and headed to our respective quarters, I found myself thinking about everything I'd learned. Not just about primitive survival techniques or the chemical process of combustion, but about what it meant to be truly adaptable. Humans hadn't reached the stars because they were the strongest or the fastest or the most technologically advanced. They'd done it because they were stubborn, creative, and absolutely refused to let obstacles stop them. When they didn't have fire, they made fire. When they didn't have tools, they made tools. When they didn't have food, they found food or, if necessary, made that too. They were a species that had bootstrapped themselves from cave-dwelling primates to interstellar explorers through sheer determination and an honestly concerning willingness to experiment with dangerous things. And now they were out here, among the stars, teaching the rest of the galaxy their tricks. I logged into my terminal and started my report for Professor Kortnax. After describing the events of the survival course in detail, I concluded with this observation. Humans are terrifying not because of their physical capabilities or their technology, but because of their mindset. They look at impossible situations and ask, "How can I solve this?" instead of, "Can this be solved?" They are a species of problem solvers who refuse to accept failure as final. If I have learned anything from this experience, it is this. When everything goes wrong and all your technology fails and the universe is trying its very best to kill you, you want a human on your team because they've been there before and they know how to make fire from rocks. 3 weeks later, I received my grade. Full marks, plus a note from Professor Kortnax. Excellent observation, Zixthar. You have learned the most important lesson I can teach. Technology is wonderful, but adaptability is survival. Humans understand this at a species-deep level. The rest of us would do well to learn from them, even if their methods are occasionally disturbing. P.S. Student Chen has volunteered to lead an optional workshop on primitive fire starting and fieldcraft. I recommend attending. The skills may save your life someday. I signed up immediately. After all, if the galaxy had taught me anything, it was this. When a human offers to teach you how to survive, you shut up and take notes. Because whatever they're about to show you, no matter how primitive or simple or weird it seems, it's a technique that's been tested and refined over hundreds of thousands of years by the most stubborn, creative, and terrifyingly competent species in the known universe. And if everything goes wrong, if all your fancy technology fails, and you're stuck on a hostile world with nothing but rocks and sticks, you'll be very, very glad you learned how to make fire the human way. Because at the end of the day, in the cold dark of space, on distant worlds light years from home, the ability to make warmth and light from nothing but determination and 2 rocks is the most powerful technology anyone can possess. Even if it does come with a side of sarcasm and concerning enthusiasm for making things burn, especially then.